I ended up building an enclosure out of plexiglass. When I'm using the 3 and the 4-inch roughing mills, the chips are insane. I mean, they literally go everywhere. So this was just a test run to see what happened. What would happen, I figured I'd show you guys, and it actually did really well. That's steel. It's taking a pretty beefy cut, and it actually contained all the chips with no problem. I'll definitely be doing this in the future. It's just nice not having them being thrown everywhere. I don't have an actual, workshop shop. The mill is in my basement. My shop is spread out through my basement and garage. So I ended up rebuilding this mill. I stripped it down completely, and what was happening was the backlash was kind of a bit much. So now when I do this, there's hardly any backlash in this system. There's a little tiny bit, maybe 0.004, but there was between 12 and 15. And what was happening, let me see if I can find the piece of metal here. Hold on. You can see this hole. Bear in mind, I'm using a ball mill for this. So I was actually trying to do some contouring. But that aside, you could see this isn't a clear circle. But now, obviously, it's a lot better. I was considering switching this over to ball screws, but holy cow, what a nightmare that would be. So, luckily, these machines do have adjustments. I'm not sure if you could see this brass thing here, but there is a set screw where you can actually clamp it so it takes up some backlash. Just food for thought. I know what you guys are thinking. What the hell is he doing now? And you're right. This lathe that I've been using, this is the CNC mini lathe I have. Well, I decided to make some modifications to it. As everybody knows who's ever owned one of these things, this is the weakest link of these lathes and the way that these things are put on there. Now, I made some modifications to this to make it better, but it's really just putting a band-aid on top of another band-aid. So, my plan is, first of all, the spindle is going to be replaced. The spindle bearings, the old ones, are the radial. I bought some angular contact bearings. Also, the guides, it's going to be these for the guides now. I think what I'm going to end up doing, if you try to follow me here, this ledge right here that lines everything up, I am going to stupidly mill this down. At that point, I am going to put a flat piece of steel stock on the top of this thing. Then I'm going to put this on top of the steel stock. 2 of these, obviously, if that wasn't obvious. Along with the spindle. That way, instead of using this tiny little 3-inch or 3.5-inch, whatever this thing is, we're going to spread it out over 5-6 inches. And then instead of using just cast iron ways, what we're going to do is we'll use this in both directions, for the Z and for the X. So stay tuned. Alright, so here's the plan. I'm going to bolt this thing down to the table. I'm going to have this little piggy do some munching on this channel right here. Because this is going to go on top of a piece of steel. Let me see what I got for some material. Probably a bit of an overkill, but this is what I have. I'll have to cut it down on the bandsaw to make it fit. But I think it's pretty clear what I'm trying to achieve here. This is going to go on top of here. And I'll bolt this to here, these to this, and, you know, I'll have the ball screw in the middle pushing these along, which will essentially be a lot like this. So instead of having, you know, the waves and the dovetail, it'll be on the rail, and this will have the same thing for the x-axis. I'll have to get, I don't know if I have any here. I'll have to look. Yeah, I do. So anyway, the head will go on here, the spindle. Now the tricky part is going to come in where, like, this one has this V here. I'm not sure what this angle is. I'll double check. I want to say 45 degrees, but I very much doubt that since this is a metric lathe. But because the tailstock, which I don't even know if I'm going to be able to use anymore if I do this, and the head, use this to line everything straight, what I'm considering doing, if I don't machine this off, I can machine a groove in here and put this on top and then use that to line this plate up on top of here. Yeah. Well, there's some good news, but some bad news. This cutter here, not sure how well you guys can see this. Looks like it is the right angle. Unfortunately, it's not the right cutter for my horizontal mill. I'd have to do this in my vertical mill, and my vertical mill isn't big enough to do this. So I might not have a choice. I don't think I can do the channel in the steel. I'm gonna have to take the face off of the, yeah, for crying out loud, you know what I mean. I got to take this off, which I'm not too worried about. I mean, these beds, if I have to buy another bed because I screw everything up, they're like $100. So, you know, it's not the end of the world. Just, I'd rather not have to spend $100 if I, you know, don't have to. So I am a little nervous shaving this down, but I don't see any other way.